welcome back to a new episode of Louise's Bookish Adventures. Today is all going to be about my February wrap-up and then my March TBR. Before we get started though, I have a cute little friend right here who just finished eating. Say hi, Nacho. Okay. He's not much of a lab cat, but like he was right here and I thought I'd show him off, because he's just so cute. But without further ado, let's get into the books. So for my February wrap up, first book I finished was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I read this with my students, so it took me a while because, we read in parts. And, I read this in 8th grade and I thought it was pretty good. I really like the premise. I like books, so the idea of burning books is kind of terrifying for me. But I think as an adult, I saw a lot of more similarities with the world that is happening now about censorship and not saying things because it offends people, so you just eliminate it entirely, which is kind of terrifying because, yeah, you should be sensitive to people, but you can't censor everything, and you can't make everyone happy and then just eliminate books because it makes them feel like, oh, they're not as smart or they're not as accomplished. And it's actually kind of funny because part of Fahrenheit 451 was censored before it was published. They took a portion out, so it's kind of funny that a book about censorship was censored a bit. So but I thought it was a great read. I do wish my students kind of understood more the urgency of it, like, guys, this is happening right now. But they're kids, so maybe when they're older and they're more experienced, they'll realize it. Next book I finished was George Orwell's 1984. This one is, in kind of a future 1984 in a sense where there aren't rules, but there are rules, and people are constantly watching you, and they take away vocabulary words that make you think and rebel, and it's all about following the party and big brother's watching you. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. Maybe it's also due to experience. A coworker said I have to wait till I'm 30 to really understand it, so maybe I'll read it again when I'm 30. In like 2 years. Oh God, I feel so old. But I felt the ending was very unsatisfying. It's not what I expected. Even my seniors were like, this is so unsatisfying. Like, nothing really changed, which is kind of disappointing. But I guess in a sense it shows, like, if you don't do something about it, it's not going to change. And George Orwell even said that this was supposed to be a warning, not an instruction manual. And we kind of made it into an instruction manual, because now it's like, you could be talking about Olive Garden and suddenly an email pops up in your email for Olive Garden, so like things are constantly watching you in a sense. Google Earth takes pictures, like your phone knows when you look something up, and when you're talking about something you'll get ads. So I guess like we are constantly being watched, but I felt like the book wasn't it wasn't as scary and terrifying as I thought it would be. All right. Now it's the books that were for enjoyment. The first book I finished for February was Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. This is in Twilight and Edward's point of view. In the beginning, I actually felt like Edward was just whining all the time about how much he loved her, but he couldn't have her. Oh, but he wants to be with Bella, but it's wrong. And it was really annoying for me. But as the story progressed, I thought it actually was pretty okay. I felt like Edward had more human emotions that Bella did in Twilight. Like, he reacted normally for certain things, where Bella is like, oh, you're a vampire? Sure, let's hang out and date. Like, what normal human being would ever think that way? So I felt like this one was definitely a step up from Twilight in the sense that there was more human emotion within the main character. So I thought it was pretty good, and I'm actually happy I finished it. I got to the scene that I wanted to, and it wasn't as satisfying. It was more like Edward shutting down and going, oh my God, I must save her. But I thought it was pretty good, and the entire time at the end he's like, I'm gonna leave her when I think she's okay. which I liked. I thought it really showed that he's willing to step up and be a man about it. The Stephenie Meyer did say that she was gonna do another like book in the Twilight universe, so maybe I'll continue to read those. I personally like the Twilight universe. It always takes me back to a time where I was like younger and just trying to get through like high school, and it actually makes me want to watch the movies, even though I haven't yet. But when I did finish this, I did start reading Twilight fanfiction. It just made me feel like, a child again. It's very nostalgic. Alright, now to the last book. I actually haven't finished it yet, but I do plan to finish it by the end of February, which is tomorrow. And that is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. It is the last book in the Poppy War trilogy. So far, I have no idea how it's going to end. Like, there was action and suspense, and I think Rin as a character really grew up. And went through such loss and pain, and realizes that she's not just fighting for herself, but she's fighting for other people. And I really admire her for that. I do love the action and like the war and the fighting, but because of where it is right now, I have no idea how it could possibly end. Like, these last I'm on 505, so like these last 100 pages, who knows? But I'm excited to see how this book ends, and I'll definitely have it finished by the end of February. Now to my March TBR, which is kind of long, but I have faith that I can finish. The first book I'll be reading is The Lady of the Rivers by Philippa Gregory. This is the first book in her Tudor series. Jaquetta is the mother of the White Queen, Elizabeth Woodville, and this is her story. And Jaquetta is rumored to be her family is rumored to be connected to a water goddess that has magic. And the beginning of the book starts with the Joan of Arc being there and how God put her here. She was supposed to do this. This is her right. And Jaquetta's just starting to come into her own and having this magic in her. I read this already, but that was years ago, and this is the first book in my quest of reading all of Philippa Gregory's books. So I'm really excited to get into it and then read the next one, which I suspect would be about Elizabeth Woodville. I think it's called The Red Queen. This is just about her mother and the beginning of her growing up to be this strong, powerful woman. She's rich, and she actually marries a poor person because she loves him. So that's kind of sweet, I think. She's actually comes from a wealthy family. But yeah, I'm excited to see how Jaquetta grew up and where it takes her. The next book I plan to read is The Dark Vault by Victoria Schwab, which is 2 books in one. It is about this library and kind of where you die. When you die, this is where you go. And the dead are called the historians. And a character named Mackenzie, her job is to make sure that the violent people that have died do not come out of the books that are in this library. And it's just her journey and her adventures of trying to keep the violence and criminals from reappearing in the world. It's been on my shelf for a while, I gotta say, but I'm excited to read it. And this month is all about Victoria Schwab and finishing her books because I only have 4 of them left. So I really want to get through them and finish them. Next is Vicious by B.E. Schwab and Vengeful by B.E. Schwab. Vicious and Vengeful are a duology for now. I think there's going to be a third one, suspected. But it's about it's about Victor and Eli who become friends in school, and they start thinking about how to get abilities through situations, propel your body into creating an ability for you. So they start doing dangerous things, and they first become just theorizing, all academic, and then when they start to do things to get abilities and make you stronger, that's when the bad things start happening, when they start experimenting. That's all I know about it. That's pretty much all that it says in the back. Vengeful, I know, is the sequel, And I really want to read this series. I've heard amazing things about it. Like my coworkers, I think that it's so great. And I cannot wait to finally read this duology, or, the first two of a trilogy. Last but not least, it is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by B.E. Schwab. And this is about a girl named Addie LaRue who made a deal to live forever. The only back cause of that is that whenever she meets someone and then leaves, the person immediately forgets who she is, like doesn't remember her. So she's never really remembered by anyone. But then one day she goes into a bookstore and someone remembers who she is. And that's all I know, but it seems really interesting. I've heard people say that they sob profusely when they read this book. Like, it is the most tragic thing ever for them. And I really can't wait to, dive in. It's, I think, her first standalone, and it seems really interesting. And like, she worked really hard on it for a really long time, and I'm super excited to finally read this month. I actually plan to do a 24-hour readathon during my birthday weekend with my best friend Christina, who also has a channel on YouTube. I'll link it down below. And we're gonna read this together and like vlog it, so that'll be really exciting, and you'll definitely see that up by the end of March. But yeah, I'm really excited to finally read this. So that is all my books, my wrap up, and my TBR for March. Tell me what you're reading down below in the comments. I'd love to know if you have any suggestions that I should add based on books you have seen. Let me know. I would love suggestions, always do, especially because I have a lot of space to fill in my bookshelves. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please leave your comments, subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye.